All right, good morning. Welcome, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. We are like 1 or 2 minutes out of schedule. So we're going to get started, hopefully allow for some questions at the end as well. So on behalf of Corteva, thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Kylie Nodine. I'm a field marketing manager for crop protection. I'm joined by Drake Robards, who is our U.S. portfolio marketing lead for soy herbicides, and Eric Schurter, who is our U.S. technical lead. And so I'm going to be your moderator today. These two gentlemen are going to be doing the bulk of the talking and answering your questions, and we're in good company because these guys are subject matter experts, and we're excited to have them. So we're going to get kicked off here, and we're excited to talk to you guys. We have 3 new soy herbicides that we are launching in 2025 from a Corteva standpoint, and we're going to walk through those with you today. So, Schurter?
Yep. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Let's try it again. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. There we go. I know we're a mile high. Everybody's getting a little used to it. Depending on where you're farming at right now, I know a lot of folks down south, we're getting ready to start in Texas. We're starting to think about it, but what we're going to try to do is walk you through from a pre-emerge programs up to that in-season residual here. And I'll be kind of covering Kyber Pro, Sonic Boom. We're not going to get into a lot of data necessarily today, but try to give you the concepts of why we brought both these products to market, what they feel, the features, benefits, things of that nature. Then I'll turn it over to Drake, and he'll talk about Enversa, our in-season residual. If you have questions, believe it or not, we can't see any of you, but if you have a question, please try to hit the mics there at the end of the hour, and we'll try to address those. So let's kind of kick it off with Kyber Pro herbicide. I always kind of start off from the benefits perspective. When you think about from a grower perspective, I always think about trying to bring more flexibility. How do I give myself more options to try to meet the needs of my operation? Between Mother Nature, the weather, everything we deal with each and every year, it's a different year. The reason I like Kyber Pro is when you think about a no-till situation, cover crops, because of the actives, we'll get into the actives here in a minute, we get a nice burn down product here with residual. So we can start that season off clean. Very important to be using multiple modes of action so that we are starting off clean, and then we'll talk about an in-season residual. Now, all of you to some degree are facing some kind of resistance out there. Maybe it's ALS, PPO, glyphosate, you name it. Hopefully in soybeans, you're using those multiple mode of action products to try to preserve the other technologies or the other tools we have in the toolbox. And that's where really Kyber Pro comes in, because in most cases, as we go over those actives, you'll see we have 2, if not 3 modes of action that are different, unique, working on those weeds. That means your herbicide resistance program is functioning properly. The one thing I really like about this product is a long-lasting residual. We say up to 6 weeks, we can go almost up to 8 weeks in the right weather conditions. That just gives you more time. We've all been rained out, we're just too windy to spray, things of those nature. Having that flexibility in residual, giving that longer season residual, just gives you more options from that perspective. And obviously, when you think about the U.S. soybean market right now, we're about 65% of the U.S. soybean market's the Enlist system. This product fits great into the Enlist system. It can fit into a conventional program or even an Extend program for that matter, because this is obviously a pre-emerge product. For those of you who have been part of True Choice, what a great way to get not only upfront savings, you know, as you think about, we all buy stuff every time I go to Menards, it seems like way too much. I hate mailing in a rebate. Well, with True Choice, once you pay, once it gets in your account in 24, 48 hours, that savings is right there. So it's upfront savings. You can spend that season. You're not waiting for a rebate at the end of the year. So a very good feature. Now we talk about some of the features with Kyber Pro. 3 modes of action. So you're looking at pyroxasulfone or Zidua, that group 15. You've got flumioxazin, the group 14, and metribuzin, the group 5. Now for some of you, if you've been around farming a while, you remember we used to use a lot of metribuzin back in the day. When you think back in the late 80s, early 90s, we were really having to push our rates in metribuzin fairly high. We just didn't have some of the other tools in the toolbox we have today. We also, our breeding programs have come a long way. So our tolerance to metribuzin is a lot higher. We're not pushing that metribuzin rate. That's why you're seeing more product concepts coming back in the soybeans across a lot of the companies right now with metribuzin. But when you start putting those 3 together, that's what's giving you up to that 6 weeks pretty consistently. And again, under the right weather conditions, you're going to get even longer than that. So we're very pleased with that performance. And the one thing I really like about the product too is and I'll show you here in just a minute, the formulation. This is a liquid product. A lot of you who've been farming a while realize we've had a lot of dry products before. Nothing wrong with a dry product, just a little more handling, inconvenience. Having a nice uniform liquid product really makes application go easy for everybody involved. And then obviously having that flexibility from crop rotations and things like that. Again, just gives you a lot more options. The reason I kind of show this picture here is I always try to kind of encourage our customers to realize what you're looking at. Over on that top left-hand picture, that's straight product just in a beaker. So you're just looking at a kind of a milky white product. The reason I show the second picture in the beaker, to me it's really important. What does that product do when you add it into the tank? You know, we don't have windows into our stainless steel tanks, so if you know this product is going to settle, like your atrazine products, your metribuzin products tend to, you know I got to have some at least good agitation there, okay? That's the reason why we show these pictures, so that you can see what it does. And then just with a little bit of mild agitation, that's that top right picture. Again, so as long as you just got some mild agitation, you'll be fine there. The other thing is, I know we all try just to order just enough to get us through the year. That's what the bottom pictures look like there. So you'll see that light brown layer. That's called a cineresis layer. A lot of products in the industry will do that. But once you get a good tank turn or you mix up that jug, it stays in solution fairly well at 70 degrees or that freeze thaw. Does a real nice job. Even at 104 degrees, which we get in our sheds at sometimes, we're seeing a nice uniform product. Just agitate it. We say 2 volume tank turns. We don't see any issues there. So again, very well handling product, fits your needs on the farm very well. So we talked about the actives a little bit here, and my main take-home points is this. When you think about modes of action, you know, when you think about, in general, we can sit up here and talk about corn, we can talk about soybeans, a lot of commodities. Soybeans, we've been a little more limited. You know, as an industry, we're trying to find new actives, new modes of action. Trying to get those products registered is more of a challenge. We can find some new modes, but to meet all the needs, all those choices, crop rotations, carryovers, all the things we deal with, that's getting harder to do. So we've got to try to figure out how do we preserve the modes of action we had today. That's why we're using 2 and 3 modes of action products a lot of time. Now with this particular product, the reason I bring it up is flumioxazin. You know, when you look at our soybean chemistry today, by and large, pre-products are really into 2 camps, either kind of flumioxazin based or sulfentrazone based. And our next product's gonna be sulfentrazone based. Depending on what your flavor is, there's different reasons why you would use one over the other. Kind of like acetochlor versus esmetolochlor. I could kind of poll the audience here, and some of you are going to say you want acetochlor, some are going to say esmetolochlor. There's reasons for both. But that's why Kyber Pro fits a really nice portfolio there. We've talked about the residual control there. You know, I think this is one that I really like, especially when you get up north into that North Dakota, South Dakota, the crop rotation, flexibility, but that length of residual, especially on some of the harder control weeds like kochia, some of those pre-products like this, do an excellent, excellent job. And more importantly, and I know it's kind of a lot of stuff on that slide, folks, my take-home point to you here is this. We want multiple modes of action. I cannot stress that enough, okay? When you look on the front end, we've got to start clean. How you get there, if that's tillage, if that's using cultural, if that's using herbicides, great. But we've got to start that season off clean. We want to use a product like Kyber Pro early as a pre-emerge, multiple effective modes of action. We're going to come in post-emerge. We're not really going to talk about Enlist 1, but if you're using E3 soybeans, approximately about 80% of the time you're going to spray them with Enlist 1 or Enlist Duo. I know there's a high spray rate there. You're going to hear Drake talk about Enversa, adding a layered in-season residual. Okay, that's very important, especially if you're going after some of the amaranth species. We've got to kind of double up our residuals there a little bit to try to kind of keep those weeds at bay. So kind of in summary here, just kind of highlighting why we're bringing Kyber Pro. We like the strong pre-residual. We like starting off clean, giving you good flexibility from pre-plant up to 3 days after after planting. We like the fact that it's compatible with a lot of programs out there. The long-lasting residual gives you more time. When Mother Nature throws a curveball, you've got there. And that formulation advancements there are really a nice advantage. That liquid pre-product gives you a lot of flexibility, a lot of application safety, things of that nature. Now, as we switch gears, Sonic Boom. Kind of the benefits of Sonic Boom are this. For those of you who have used our products from Corteva, You're familiar with Sonic herbicide. That's a sulfentrazone-based product. It's the other PPO chemistry out there. What we've basically done with this particular product is we've substituted out one of the actives and brought that metribuzin back into it. So we've got only 2 modes of action here, okay? But it fits that conventional market very well. Tillage market, I would not consider this a standalone burn down product. We know the sulfentrazone will give some activity, but we know flumioxazin is going to give you better burn down. That's why we have both products. You can easily mix in a glyphosate or a 2,4-D with this and get a real nice kill and a burn down, but you're just not going to have that other added benefit like we have with Kyber Pro. Okay? Naturally fits into that program approach very well. Long-lasting residual. For most folks, you're depending on the rate, pretty variable rate structure here depending on soil type, pHs, things of that nature, but we have a wide range of window there from that. And also, too, liquid formulation. You're going to start to see us, we're trying to get more into liquid formulations just because of ease of handling, measuring, everything that we do from induction, et cetera. And just like Kyber Pro, that fits into that True Choice prepay program. So another added benefit there for savings here in 2025. 2 modes of action we talked about, sulfentrazone, metribuzin. Again, when you think about what we're going after here, we're usually going after broadleaf weeds. Probably maybe a weakness of this particular herbicide would be grass control. We're going to get good grass control early on, but when you start thinking about sulfentrazone and metribuzin, they're probably not as strong on some of our annual grasses as a Group 15 product. For those of you out there that you could easily add a Residual, an Everprex, you could add some other S-metolachlors in there quite easily, and you could really bolster that very well just doing a quick tank mix. We say 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to lean more for most of the use rates we're running. We're going to be running at 5 to 6 weeks. If you start getting on sands and some of those low soils, you're going to have to watch your rates just because of the challenges there with those soil types. That's going to get you down to about 4. And again, just having that flexibility. Again, just like we did with Kyber Pro, 2 modes of action, you'll see what we're trying to do here is overlap multiple modes of action on those hard to control weeds. That's how we build a good foundation for resistance management. If we're not doing that, hopefully you can look back in history and realize we have screwed things up years after years after years by doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. It has not worked in 30 years and it won't work in another 30 years. We've got to start doubling up these modes of actions and start thinking that pyramid approach. This is just a really good way to do that with these 2 modes of action. You can kind of see that in these pictures. Obviously, everybody's looking for that clean field. Heavy population here on that particular picture there. Looking at just a program approach here, looking at sonic boom, towards that upper end of the rate, followed by a glufosinate in list 1. We could easily have added in Enversa there and had a nice residual. This was just one of the treatments we had last year. Kind of summarizing that, again, same concept before. Again, if you like that more of a burn down, no-till cover crop scenario, hey, Kyber Pro is probably maybe what you're thinking. If you're more in a conventional till or light, you have hardly any weed pressure, you might be thinking more sonic boom. But you still want to follow that up with that in-season multiple modes of action. Greg will talk to you about Enversa here in just a minute and layer that residual. That's how we're going to really think about effectively controlling weeds long term. Just like before, having that convenient liquid premix gives you a lot of flexibility when you're out applying, strong program there, residual activity, and just that tank mix flexibility. Those are some of the things that I think about with this product. Builds in a nice arsenal here, as Drake will talk to you a little bit more of our current products in our portfolio, but a real nice addition. So, Drake, I'll turn it over to you and let you kind of hit on Enversa, man.
Thank you very much, Eric. Yeah, as Kylie mentioned, I'm Drake Robard, so I lead our soybean herbicide portfolio across the U.S. business, and we've had a really busy last year and even ahead of that as we launched Enversa commercially, the name back in 2023, and then this past year with the addition of the 2 liquid pre's and Sonic Boom and Kyber Pro. You know, as we think about herbicide management and weed resistance management, you know, having that start to finish approach is really important. Eric touched on that with the pre. So I will get into Enversa, which is that in-season residual, which there's been a lot of excitement around Enversa, a lot of excitement around Kyber Pro and Sonic Boom as well. But our commercial field sales team that position and promote this product daily have saw a significant demand for this product, which is really exciting and invigorating for us to know that we're offering a solution in the marketplace that's really needed from the grower to the retail, even up through the distribution level. So to talk about how we got here today, talking about Enversa. So back in March of 2023 was when the Enversa name was commercially launched externally. We achieved federal registration at the end of the year in 2023. The summer of 24 is when we conducted Enversa on-farm trials. Eric was heavily involved in that, liked everything we saw from the results from those field trials. And then in the fall of 24, Eric, myself, Kylie, her team, we all got together and officially launched Enversa to be sold, starting on or after October 1st. So Enversa has been in development at Corteva for more than a decade, and we've been doing university testing on Enversa since year 2021. And again, like everything we see there, the stars on the map indicate trial locations at the university level, which just provides that third-party, rather non-biased look at how Enversa works in the field. So group 15, just talking about, there's a heavy emphasis on the group 15 and the focus there for weed resistance management and having clean fields throughout the year. So you can see how Enversa stacks up against its competitors of Dual Magnum, Warrant, and Metal, and that just gives you a look at what we stack up against from a competitive level. Features and benefits, this is probably the most exciting part. So it's a novel formulation, it's proprietary to Corteva. It's our formulation. It's been in research and development for close to a decade now. It's extremely versatile. As you think about where Enversa fits in the market, we're talking about 3 new soybean herbicides here, but it's very effective, across the Corn Belt, across the extended Corn Belt. You get down in some of the south and southwestern geographies where sorghum and cotton are bigger players, also a huge proponent in that market as well. So it's versatile, it's effective weed control in season, and we see really, really good crop safety, excellent crop tolerance from Enversa with this novel formulation of encapsulated acetyl core. So to get on to the novel formulation, so the proprietary acetyl core for that residual control of those tougher to control weeds in season. These microcapsules, they move quickly from the leaf surface and drive down to the soil, creating that really, really strong residual control that helps keep weeds in check in season. And again, very reduced crop injury when sprayed on the leaf surface. Again, lots of trials have been done. We had this, in our own field teams this past year, and again, see almost nothing in terms of crop response when applied per instruction. So really excited about the formulation. Eric showed the Kyber Pro and maybe Sonic Boom formulation, but this is just a look at the appearance and dispersion after pouring in water. Again, figure 1 is the formulation. Figure 2 is the dilution in water without agitation. And then figure 3 will show you what it looks like when it's agitated with water. So again, have seen excellent, no cause for concern with formulation, no cause for concern with agitation, sprayability. Really, really happy about the ease of use with product handling with Enversa. I think this is okay. Enjoy this video. Okay, so dramatic rendering there video-wise of everything I just talked about. So well done there by the Marcom team internally. Herbicide versatility is another factor that we're very proud of with the Enversa formulation. Wide application window, great handling and tank mix compatibility. Again, lots of trials that have been conducted at the university level and internally as well. And crop application flexibility. I touched on the different crops and the different geographies in which Enversa plays. So we're positioning this mainly on the soybean acre, but again, versatile for use on corn, cotton, peanuts, sorghum, and sugar beets. So again, a lot of different markets, a lot of different geographies. So there will be a lot of different growers, retailers that will get a look at Enversa and be able to see the features and benefits for themselves as we continue to launch this product commercially and rev up availability. Yeah, so we talked about the tank mix partner of choice. So in List 1, it's obviously a Corteva franchise, so we're very proud of the fact that we are officially positioning Enversa as the tank mix partner of choice within List 1 for that in-season residual control. It's really important for us at Corteva to steward that Enlist technology, to see that technology go into the next decade. So when you're adding an extra bodyguard, if you will, like Enversa, followed behind a Kyber Pro or Sonic Boom application, it's that holistic start to finish approach to clean fields free of weeds. So again, kind of an eye chart there, but again, just know that we are positioning this. We want this in the tank within List 1 in season. So crop safety, touched on this. I'll touch on it again. Encapsulated acetyl core really increases crop safety. Very, very low, if any, crop tolerance in almost no situation, and higher yield potential. So obviously, we're trying to keep fields clean, free of weeds, but also at the end of the day, we're paid on yield. So less crop response, more yield. Just some photos of different crop response to Enversa herbicide with other Group 15 herbicides. So on my left is EverPreX and PowerMax 3. The middle there is Zidua with PowerMax 3. The third is Enversa with PowerMax 3. And lastly, you see Warrant with PowerMax 3, indicating that Enversa tank mixed with Roundup PowerMax 3 is showing very low to any crop response. So very proud of that, very excited to get that in the marketplace as it's a safe option. Yeah, so a program approach, we talked about this from start to finish. You start with Kyber Pro, you start with Sonic Boom, you start with a clean field, you plant your Enlist E3 soybeans or corn, cotton, sorghum, whatever the crop is. You add this in the tank with Enlist 1, following guidelines, and you get up to 6 weeks of residual control on those hard-to-control weeds, Palmer amaranth, and certain grasses. So you will need about a ½ inch of moisture needed to activate this product, given the encapsulation. Weed control, a little hard to see here, but just know that the one takeaway from this slide is really strong residual control, not suppression, control of 20 broadleaf weeds and grasses, including Palmer amaranth and water hemp. I'm from the Champaign, Illinois area of the world, so East Central Illinois, and water hemp is a huge problem for us. So it's crops like these, it's products like these rather, and multiple modes of action like Eric talked about. That is what we're going to have to do to manage weed resistance out there in the field. So what better option than Enversa tank mixed with Enlist 1, followed by a pre-application of Kyber Pro and or Sonic Boom. To wrap all this up, Enversa, so again, new powerful proprietary formulation by Corteva of a post-emergent soybean herbicide, again, but it plays on a lot of other crops as well. Outstanding tank mix compatibility, really, really flexible application timing, and again, we are positioning this, we want this in the tank with Enlist 1, we want this on Enlist E3 soybeans, and excellent crop safety. So less weeds, higher yields. That's a good day for the farmer. It's a good day for us at Corteva. It's a good day for retail partners. Holistically, Enversa has been a fantastic addition to the soybean portfolio, as have been Kyber Pro and Sonic Boom, and we will continue to ramp up volumes of Enversa as we look to hit over 6 million acres of Enversa out in the U.S. business as we get towards the end of the decade. So with that, that's what I had to share on Enversa. Eric Reminder talked about Kyber Pro and Sonic Boom as those pre-emerged liquid additions to the soybean herbicide portfolio, all in 2025. As we move into 26 and 27, we're certainly not done. Maybe next year we'll be in this room talking about what the next addition to the soybean herbicide portfolio is. But Corteva is committed to investing in the soybean herbicide portfolio, and we're committed to stewarding the Enlist technology by providing these bodyguards, if you will, to make sure that that technology and that franchise remains strong as we move into the next decade. So with that, I will turn it over to Kylie to moderate our questions and answers. Thank you all.
All right. Thanks, Eric and Drake. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty pumped. And when I work with our field teams and as they work with our retail partners and farmers, this is just really truly rounding out the Corteva portfolio for us. We've got strong options across all crops, and we've had a strong soy portfolio, but this is really just knocking it out of the park for us, especially having a post option now to mix with Enlist One on our E3 acres. So we're excited. Hope you guys are too. But with that, don't be shy. This is you all's opportunity for questions. But does anyone have any questions? There are 2 mics on each side of the aisle, if you do. I figured this would happen. So with that, Eric, Drake, I get a lot of questions from the field often as we're launching these new products. Help us, what's the difference between Kyber and Kyber Pro?
Oh, yeah. So originally we as Corteva had launched Kyber formulation. Very similar actives, the construct, everything you think about Kyber Pro. One of the things, though, that a weakness of that particular product was formulation attributes, okay? And I'll put this in context. Just show of hands. How many remember structured refuge in corn? Show of hands. Does anybody want to go back to that? No. No, nor do I. Well, changing a formulation can take a good concept, and a bad formulation can kill it. And if you get that formulation correct, you get a good concept again. And that's basically what we've been able to do with Kyber Pro, is bring back the good AIs, that program or that premix, but in a ready, easy-to-use formulation, stable, 2-year shelf life, things of that nature, to bring back that horsepower that a lot of you all need. So that's the big difference between those 2 products. That's why we re-entered them in the coming years. So, folks, I encourage you all, this is your all's time. We've got a couple weeks before spring gets here. If you've got a question, I'm sure 10 other people got the same question. Don't leave here. Yes, sir. Okay, so on...
Repeat the question.
Yeah, so the question there is on Enversa, it takes about a ½ inch. Your question is activation rainfall and how much to get it off a leaf. Is that the question?
How much? You get too much rain. How much is too much?
Oh, okay, and, too much. Okay, so great question. First off, Group 15s. Group 15s do not offer any post-emerge activity. So why we're using Group 15s, just to set the stage, it's residual control. So anything left on the leaf surface is doing you nothing. We want it to the ground. Now, in this case, I don't need rainfall to get it out. I don't want rainfall to get it out of the capsule. Okay, now this will make sense to you here in just a second. This is a water-based product. Okay, so in solution, 100% in the jug, it's water-based. So it's not going to come out of that capsule through osmosis, meaning from like higher concentration to low. So what's going to happen is once you apply Enversa, it hits the soil, either through light degradation, just mechanical drying, it's going to crack. Once it comes out of that capsule, it's going to take a ½ inch to activate it, just like any other acetochlor we have in the marketplace, okay? Did that answer your question, sir? Okay.
Good, another question over you.
Yeah. Sorry, thank you for the great presentation. You mentioned how Sonic Boom You're using a PPO and you're using metribuzin, which, yeah, like you said, not super great on prolonged grass activity. And you're preaching about adding, multiple modes of action to the tank. Why didn't you guys go ahead and just add in a VLCFA or other herbicide that would increase grass activity?
Yeah. So that's phase 2. One, you're absolutely right. Yes. In our line of work, folks, and it's no different to Corteva versus any other competitor we have up here. We're all working through our projects, things of that nature. We want to make sure you have a good formulation first before you start bringing and make, because the more you add to a tank, the more complicated these formulations get. It's kind of like trying to have, think about Christmas dinner with the family. It gets chaotic. You start putting 3 and 4 actives in, it gets a little chaotic, okay? We've got some of our products that have 30-plus different things in there to keep them all playing nice, suspended, shelf life. So that's why we start slow, then ramp up, start getting those 3 ways. You don't see many 4 ways out there. We might in our industry at some point, but that becomes a big challenge. And not to mention the other challenge to all this is how many of y'all are using biologicals today that we weren't 5 or 10 years ago? A lot of these products, we put microbe degradation products in there to keep microbes from growing in our formulations, for 2-year shelf life. Well, if it's keeping microbes out there and you put a biological with it, are we going to have a negative effect? So there's a lot of things we got to work through on formulations that we don't always probably tell you too much about. So.
Yeah, and there's a process as we go through launching and introducing new products to the marketplace. We have internal teams that are part of the commercial team that are out in the field every day interacting with retailers and growers like yourselves, and we get the feedback from them of, this is what a grower wants, this is what a retailer wants, and we have to balance that with some of the mechanisms that Eric just talked about, like feasibility, walking before we run, and I talked about innovation in the future to come. We have a handful of products that we have full intentions of launching in the next, call it 2 to 5 years, but it takes a lot of internal testing to make sure we get this right. There have been different formulations that have been entered into the marketplace that once they get out at the commercial level and at the farm gate that just don't work as easily as we thought. So we're trying to avoid that toe stubbing. So to your question there, yeah, we've thought about it. Yeah, is it coming in the future? Yeah, we just need to make sure that we do it the right way.
I think we got about 2 or 3 minutes if I could see correctly back there, but we got another question here. Go ahead.
With your Enversa product, and you showed the video of it washing off the soybean leaf, how well does it wash off, say, dead vegetation for someone who might be using cover crops and going into a heavy cover crop scenario that the cover crop might be dead?
Yeah, so that encapsulation itself, and it's an encapsulated product. Now, the one thing we didn't probably say, this is a non-Safened Group 15. And the reason I bring that up is this is really meant for post in-season residual. Once you have any crop up, you don't need the safeners like we have with esmetolochlor, cetachlor, things of that nature. That capsule itself is going to give you what I call a little bit of flexibility to get it to the ground. We actually have a lot of encapsulated technology with Corteva. We're probably one of the few that actually, we've done it with our stabilizers, we've done it with our cetachlor brands and corn, we're using it. And that's why we actually build some of those products to get it to drive to the soil. Like Full Time is one we developed to drive it through heavy corn residue to get it to the ground. You'll get some of that with Enversa as well. It's not going to be as perfect, but definitely better than just having a straight esmetolochlor or a non-encapsulated product out there. It'll give you better to the ground. So
We have another question back here.
we got one more question, maybe about a minute. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I understand Kyber was a supply issue when it was on the market. What's the supply issue of Kyber Pro 2025 versus 2026?
Could you repeat that question, Susan?
Volume for this year versus.
There was supply issues with Kyber in previous years. What is supply issues with Kyber Pro in 2025 and 2026?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So, yeah, Kyber, we had issues with formulation as well, but there were also some supply chain issues along the way. Before we launched this product, we made sure that we will not see any of those. So this was a limited launch year for us. Again, walking before we run. So we know that this formulation, while we're confident in it, we want to make sure that it's controllable in the event that a catastrophe happens, which is not going to. But with that, we will continue to rev up and ramp up launch volumes going into crop year 26. So you can expect almost no limitations moving into crop year 26 or 27, and that was critical because that was another pain point that we had with the original Kyber. So same with Sonic Boom, that'll be the same. This year, limited launch, walk before we run, and then, we'll take off sprinting for crop year 26 or 27.
Got time for maybe one question left, and then folks, we'll stick out around after here, and then we'll go. Sir, right there in the middle line.
Warren is a product that washes out with a lot of rain real quick, and Zidua is one that lasts the longest. Where does that?
So the question here is, when you look at the different Group 15s out there and how they behave in different environments, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, I think, is what we heard there. So in general, when you think about Zidua, pyroxasulfone, good pre-product, no problem there. One thing we know is Zidua it likes to be reactivated by rainfall. Depending on where you were, not in 24, but really 23, I would say it was not as good of a Zidua year. We were a drier year, just didn't get reactivated. It's not a bad product, just didn't get reactivated. Acetochlor, generally speaking, has been one that takes less rainfall to get reactivated. That's why we say a ½ inch. But we also, when you do that, we're going to get somewhere the same residual activity. I was going to say Zidua. So esmetolochlor maybe lasts a little longer in the environment, but usually it starts to fade off and is not as strong towards the tail end. So that's the reason why, to be honest, Corteva has always been more in the acetochlor camp, just because we kind of get best of both worlds. It's not perfect. There's never a perfect product out there, folks, but trying to meet the needs of growers east to west, north to south. So,
Yeah.
folks, I hate to say, go ahead.
Actually, we have a little bit of time between the next session. So
okay.
if you're chill to sit here for a little bit longer, I like the questions and interactivity. So
Yep,
we
we
can
got-
keep going for questions for just a little bit longer.
We do have another question.
No, we're done.
Oh, nope, turns out I'm wrong. We're about done here. Never
We
mind.
got outvoted.
Never mind.
We'll
Have
be
him
out in
come
the
up
hallway,
here
folks.
and- Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, false alarm. We're good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.